Welcome back to another Wednesday on the Pagan Perspective. I'm your Wednesday host, Yeka, and this week we have a lot of different questions which are all about the general topic of personal morality and ethics within paganism. So I don't have all of the questions written in front of me because they're on my phone and I'm recording from my phone, so I'm going to work from memory here. But to get started, do I, as a pagan, believe in good and evil? And no, at least not in a universal, not in a good with a capital G and evil with a capital E. I believe in an objective reality beyond just the human experience or the earthling experience. I believe that the universe existed before humans did and will continue to do so after we no longer exist. Now, I think that what is us in different forms has always existed, that we are part of, or at least has existed as long as the universe has. Who knows before, if there was a before. But that the pieces of us that make us up are part of the universe, and that we're just a piece of the universe. We're an opportunity for the universe to experience itself. But we experience the world, we experience existence in a way that is very unique to us, to our species. And I think that there are certain things, certain bits of morality which are in fact instinctual for us. For instance, the idea of reciprocity, I believe, is an instinctual idea or concept that humans have, and each species, probably quite overlapping, that have, at least species that has an awareness in the way that we do, has things that are instinctual to them. And that is the foundation of the morality for an individual, is the species morality. From there, and this is, circles within circles, I think that our culture, and that the larger culture, not just, the small little one, but the big, the whole one that all of us as humans today in the modern era are a part of, informs our understanding of the world and the foundation, and is the foundation of our morality past the species level. So much so that the majority of it we are completely unaware of. It is so foundational, it's how we see the world, to such an extent that separating ourselves from it would be very difficult, and even becoming aware that that is how we are shaped, to how we view the world, would be very difficult. But it is not, it's not necessarily the only way, but because we are so used to it and everyone around us, it just doesn't occur to us to think that there is another way. Now, within that, there are more specific cultures and more specific experiences, the region someone is from, the religion, the small cultural groups, somebody's gender experience, all kinds of things like that are going to shape us. And then there's the family that we come from. Families have culture as well. So not just the community that we grew up in or grow up in and live our lives in, and because we continue to change throughout our lives, but our family culture, I believe, has a tremendous impact on where our sense of morality comes from. Then, of course, there are personal experiences and things that we expose ourselves to, and choices we make, and that we might reflect upon and see in ourselves and choose to change that. So, religion, like paganism, is one place where that can inform our sense of morality. but it isn't the only one. And I think that the majority, and I guess what I was trying to say with all of that is that the majority of where our sense of morality comes from, I believe, is very much unconscious on our part and difficult to change if we do not become aware of it. Now, it goes both ways, though. I think that we can then influence those other circles back. So choices that we make and ideas that we make in terms of how we behave and what we believe in terms of right and wrong, and again, I really think that those are little cases, not capital cases, words, that our behavior there can influence back. And I think that's really, personally, I think that's important, because in my practice as a pagan and my beliefs as a pagan, of course, are informed by what I think is really important. And so I think that, clearly, I think that those are important enough for me to believe, and I think that they're important things to be valued by everyone. So I would personally love to see people valuing our ecosystems more, our being part of this world. I'd like to see a decrease in the misanthropy, the deep misanthropy that's going on right now, and that sort of thing. So, in terms of, does a book influence my beliefs? Is there a code that I follow, a specific person's writings? Not really on the surface. I'm of course heavily influenced by the things that have influenced the culture that I grew up in. So clearly, I have a lot of influence from the Bible, for instance, because that influences the people around me, and they in turn influence me. But I do not consciously go to a source like that. When I become aware that something, that a belief of mine or a view I have on something comes from a place like that, I try to look at it and evaluate it and say, does this serve me? Does this match with the rest of who I want to be? Okay, so let me see if I can remember in terms of the other topics. There was something going on in the Buddhist community in 2018. I am not a member of that community. I'm not aware of what was happening there, so I'm not going to comment on that. And then there were some questions in terms of what we think about bindings or things like casting a spell on somebody else. How does that impact? Is it okay for us to do that? How does that impact their rights versus ours? And that comes into a really interesting topic, which I think is an ongoing discussion in our community, in the larger community of the Western world right now, which is, although it's not being used by these terms, but freedom versus license. And the answer to that, where to put the weight there, I don't have an answer at this point for myself. It's something that I'm still really evaluating. My general sense, because of my belief of what spells and magic are, I believe that those are things that we do to ourselves, which then, because everything is in relationship, changes ourselves and therefore changes how the world relates back to us, because we have changed how we are relating to it. I don't think it's very productive to do a spell towards or about someone else, because it's sort of a roundabout way of changing. I think it's more direct to just change ourselves, right? And if I'm feeling attacked by someone, instead of going, okay, I'm going to make a spell to make them leave me alone, I might do some sort of practice to influence how I respond to that, rather than, attacking them. But it's not something that I have a really strong, certain answer for at this point. It's something that I'm still kind of trying to keep an open mind about, and thinking about it, self-reflection, and again, like I've often talked about on these videos, looking at it and going, is this serving what my goals are, what my values are? Yeah, I think that kind of covers the general topic this time. It's a little all over the place because of how many topics there are, but as always, your input is really valued. If you have something to share, we would love to hear it. And I hope you all are having a wonderful season. And until next time, take care.